Check it out now. The Funk Soul Brother. Right about now. The Funk Soul Brother.
All right, so let's look at this dependency and independency section. This is mostly section 4.3 of the book. I decided to go a little bit further than what I was thinking about doing earlier. So we're going to do a little bit more, and this is going to be what we want to do here is identify dependent or independent and dependent variables, and we want to be able to write a function rule because you are going to see this on a test. So what I decided to do here is this. I'm hoping this helps explain. If you want to know who's independent, who's dependent, kind of start with this. Like start off with this statement. Blank depends on blank. And always realize that your dependent depends on your independent. And your dependent could be called the dependent, the output, or it could even be called the effect. Like something happened because something else. So then that means your independent can be called your input or can be called the cause. This is something, if I was going to put it on a note card, or if I was making a note card, I might put it on the note card. Hint, 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 hint. So kind of keep that in mind, especially that cause and effect thing. Okay. So basically we're saying the effect will depend on the cause. Who influences who, that type of thing. All right, so let's look at an example. Let's see here. I don't even remember what the example was here. The cost. Okay, I decided to go ahead and get the whole thing up there. The cost of shipping a package is based on its weight. So the question becomes, look, there's two things we're talking about here. We're talking about the cost and we're talking about the weight. So the question becomes, does the cost depend on the weight, or does the weight depend on the cost? And for me, I'm trying to ask myself that question. Which makes more sense? The cost depends on the weight. So if I change the weight, does that change the cost, or do I have to change the cost to change the weights? And really, when you think about it, you take a package, it weighs a certain amount. They put it on a table or a scale. They see how much it weighs, and then that helps them figure out the cost. So the cost depends on the weight, which means then I can scratch out the bottom part, and I'm going to say the cost depends on the weight. That means cost is your dependent and weight is your independent. Okay. Remember, whatever goes in this first blank will be your dependent. Okay. In other words, I will take a weight. I will put in a weight, and I will get out a cost that I have to pay for to get the package shipped. Okay, let's look at another example. Okay, here I've got the faster Ron walks, the quicker he gets home. So before I actually translate this one, I would probably want to know what the heck do we mean by faster? Well, what do you talk about when you're going fast? Well, you're talking about speed. So let's think of that as speed. And then what do we mean by quicker? Well, quicker would be time, because how much time it takes me to get home. So then the question becomes, does speed depend on time, or does time depend on speed? So again, we're saying here, does the speed I want to go depend on the time it takes to get home, or does the time that it takes me to get home, or Ron to get home, depend on the speed, how fast I'm going? Well, to me, that would be fairly easy to say time depends on speed. So that means the speed is my independent and time is my dependent. Again, if you don't quite fully understand that, let me know and we can try to go over that. And we'll see how that works, okay? Now we've looked at, say, independent and dependent. You're going to get some more practice with this, so don't worry. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. But I would also tell you, don't overthink it. That's the scary part about that. You can't overthink it. Now let's look at this. A lawyer's fee is $200 plus $50 consultation charge. So here we have what is called a function rule. We're going to come up with a function rule. What I'd like to do with these first is try to create the table. Okay, so here's my x, and instead of saying y, I'm going to say f of x. Again, because remember, x is what I'm putting in, f of x is the answer. What are the answers that I get? That's my output. So what determines who? Well, think about this. If you see this word per, whatever's after that usually is what your x is. So per hour, That means my X is my hours. And then what's before the word is, fee, that's going to be my f of x, my function, my answers. Okay, at 0 hours, what am I being charged? Well, according to this, I'm being charged $50 no matter what. The guy is going to say, hey, you walked in, you said hi, $50. My time is that valuable. Okay. Well, okay, I've been with this guy for 1 hour, or he's worked for me for 1 hour, so now he's going to charge me $250. Because, well, it's $200 plus the $50 consultation fee. 2 hours of work, because this guy is just supposedly working super hard. Well, now it comes up to $450. Now you know why you should go to law school, if you wanted to go to law school. 3 hours of work, he gets to charge me $650. And I'm thinking, what kind of crook is this guy? No, seriously. But you can see here. So let's look at this. Now we can create what's called a function rule. Really, that's just an equation. It's just going to say f of x, in a second, f of x is equal to something. Okay, well, again, what are you doing? This right here gives you a clue. 200 per, that's going to be our times. 200 times hours. Well, how do I show hours? With an x. Plus that $50 consultation fee. And there's your function rule. So with that, you now have a function rule. That's saying that the lawyer charges me $50 plus $200 for every hour. And that would also tell me that the fee depends on the hours that he works. So my independent would be his hours, and my dependent would be the fee. And you can tell that also from the table, because the right-hand side of a table should be your dependent. The left-hand side of your table should be your independent. Okay? Let's look at one last example, and then I'll be done with these notes. Okay, so here I have the admission fee to a local carnival is $8. Each ride costs $1.50. So again, let's make a table. We're going to have x and f of x. So again, look for something that tells me like each or per or something like that. That's going to be my x. So here I've got each ride, so that tells me the number of rides is going to be my x. Because, well, that's how you do rides. There's a certain number that you ride. And then what am I going to get for that? I'm going to have to pay a certain fee or charges, so that's my cost. My fee is my f of x. And so if I don't ride any rides, I just walk into the carnival, I have to pay an admission fee of $8. If I ride one ride, I'll pay an extra $1.50 to that, so now I've paid $9.50. 2 rides, another $1.50, and that's $11. 3 rides, $12.50. Notice how I'm adding $1.50 each time, $14. Okay, so let's look at the function rule on this. Let me give you something here for a function rule. I think this will hopefully make it easier. Automatically write f of x equals, and put a space, and then an x. Just like that. Put f of x equals space x. Okay, now realize that the x is the number of rides. What are you, look, you've got 2 numbers here. What are you being charged for each ride? Because x is rides. Which one charges for the rides? The $1.50. So that's what should go with the x. Oh, and here's the other thing. See this 0? I almost forgot this. That y, that 8, that f of x, that's next to it, that's what you're going to add. So if you look at whatever's next to the 0, that's going to be added to the x or subtracted from the x. In this case, let's go ahead and put add. I hate it when I do that. Okay, and then the $1.50 that's being charged for each ride, that's going to be there in front of the x. That's 1.50x. I'm sorry if that looks differently, but I was trying to squeeze it in. Plus 8. So $1.50 for each ride plus $8. My independent there is the number of rides, and my dependent is the fee, how much I will pay total while going to the carnival. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. This should hopefully also get you ready for the test. So kind of keep that in mind. If you do have any questions, though, make sure you ask during class. Thank you very much.